they've gone into Islamic banking. They've created Islamic windows, and they're offering products to the mass market, or to the Islamic market and to the non-Islamic market. And someone will think, but why those banks? So obviously the market is not so much in South Africa, it's also onto the African continent. So while there may not be a market in South Africa, there is a market outside, and that's what they're planning to do. And what's amazing also is that when the bigger banks came into the market and established fully fledged Islamic windows, the business of Al Baraka, and that Al Baraka is without an H, Mr. Rafiq, or kind of Razak, sorry, it actually improved. Why? Is because it created more awareness. The bigger banks will come in, and they've got bigger budgets. Number one, they're advertising for themselves, but they're also advertising Islamic finance products. So in that way, if someone wants to do an Islamic product, they will go and compare. What does a big bank offer, and what does a fully fledged Islamic bank offers? So I think it's quite interesting in that concept. The third aspect is that there was a slide, I think it was put in by Sugato from Oracle, when he put in that 15% of people will come across to an Islamic bank regardless of what. And we find the same situation, that a certain percentage of the public will come and invest in a bank, regardless of whatever you do. And the majority are price sensitive, do not worry about Islamic products. But that 15% is a very, very committed and loyal client base. And the deposits that they come in with is very sticky. Unlike the corporate deposits that you mentioned, that can come in and go out very quickly. The retail deposits we found on our side, although our rates, and we shouldn't be comparing it, it's lower than the conventional rates as far as our profit rates are concerned. 95% of the deposits are reinvested upon maturity. 95%, in spite of the deposits being at a lower rate. So I think the retail has got some major advantages. Yes, from economies of scale, from a profitability point of view, if you want to make the big gains, you go into the corporate side, and obviously there's least effort put in. So that's quite an important issue. The other aspect is, I think people need to understand, Islamic banking, it's not just going to make the returns. And I think Brother Al-Qanaf Razak mentioned that there has to be a culture of Sharia compliance and Islam. Not to just say, I want to do Islamic banking and let me go across and everyone will come running. Consumers can see through any kind of issues. Is it really being done to promote Islamic banking, or is it something to be done just to get returns on funds? So I think people can see through that. And what you have to understand is, if a depositor comes to the bank, they do not know what return they're going to get. If someone puts a deposit into the bank, that's a challenge that needs to be educated to the kind of consumer, and to say, I'm putting my money in. The profits that the depositor will get at the end of the term, after 1 month, 2 months, or 6 months, is after the bank makes its profit. What we found, you asked me for some of the challenges. Previously, we had a similar problem in the sense that the bank had all this liquidity and couldn't invest it. And remember, in South Africa, we're subject to exchange control quite strictly, unlike Mauritius, so those funds that stay behind. And that was generating quite a lot of impermissible income, because you're putting it into the bank, the treasury bills, etc. You're collecting interest, and that interest you pay the tax, and you give it across to charity. So what happens? The poor depositor loses out, and the rates were significantly lower. But he'll get a lower rate, because you only got so much of funds available. At the end of the period, you work out how many percent needs to be distributed, and that will be given to him. But eventually, after a while, you come across the Murabaha commodity transactions, the Muraba equity, and the bigger banks are getting involved in this, so these opportunities. So that's the kind of third issue as far as the number of people coming in, and I do believe retail has got a lot of opportunities. The fourth aspect is, I think Minister, was it Shakil this morning that mentioned, he said, Islamic banking, you got to take a resolution out here in the sense that it's not just for Muslims. I would like to probably remove the term Islamic or Muslim and say it's more ethical and moral banking. That's effectively what it is. And if it's sold on that concept, that it's ethical banking, it's moral banking, I think it will be open for everyone. So some of the challenges, from my under 24-hour stay in this country, Chairman, I think there is an opportunity for retail. If I just have a look at the similarities of what's being discussed today and where South Africa was when Al Baraka was established in 1989. But the growth over the last 3-4 years has been significant, and I think it more comes in with the confidence. The people are also getting more educated as far as Islamic banking is concerned. What does it entail? When I was at university and I had a bank account at Al Baraka, I never have a clue how it worked, just because it was Islamic. Nowadays, the people are coming out of university, of school, they know more about what's murabaha and what's musharaka and what's mudaraba, etc. So I think yes, it is expensive to establish a retail bank in this country. But from what I've seen, and especially the slide that you put up, I think it's quite exciting. And I think even if it doesn't meet the requirements of, or the population in this country don't support it totally, you've got other African countries where this can be a springboard for Islamic banking in this part of the world. Thank you, Chairman.
Now, before I give you the opportunity to ask any question, let me just very quickly share with you. Since we have the amendment from the Banking Act, any banks in Mauritius can offer Islamic banking through a window. Now, eventually, it works very fine, I would say, in our jurisdiction. But once we have the jurisdiction itself or the market become more matured, we don't know what would be next. Why am I telling you, I'm sharing this with you? Because recently the Qatar Central Bank has issued new directive that all windows must be converted into full-fledged Islamic bank. Now, I believe here Century has an advantage because they are already a full-fledged Islamic bank. Now, at the same time, when you look at the evolution since 2007, you will notice that today Islamic bank or conventional bank can only offer financial lease. But if you are in the business of Islamic banking, you can offer operating lease. You can offer operating lease. So the opportunities are there as far as the regulatory framework is concerned. And I believe that if you have a banking license, or according to the Banking Act, you could also have a subsidiary, right? A subsidiary recognized by the central bank and offered assets under management, right? Asset under management. So there are huge potential if you have a banking license today, whether you want to offer a wholesale bank and retail bank in Mauritius. Now I will now open the giving the participant an opportunity to ask questions, all right, to the CEOs and our panel here. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Maybe I'll just kick off with this question here. We talked about Islamic windows, for example, in South Africa, and I think brother mentioned about the Qatari law now that no Islamic windows to be allowed by conventional banks. Now, this may be probably from a ideological perspective that Islamic windows actually are disempowering the Muslim community, whereas Islamic banks are more empowering to the Muslim community, in the sense that deposits are actually taken, and there is this perception that Islamic windows are disempowering. Now, my personal view is that we should actually be going more for Islamic banks rather than for Islamic windows. But Shabir mentioned that actually the Islamic windows had given further impetus to Islamic banks. So I'd just like to get some of the panelists' views on this issue.
Perhaps let me just share a point here. Now, it's very interesting when you look at evolution of Islamic bank in the world. Now, I strongly believe that the Islamic windows are very useful in different jurisdictions. Now, when you look at Mauritius, for example, it's more difficult, or it's more costly to set up an Islamic bank or full-fledged Islamic bank